And as we fight one another for the power and the glory, Jah kingdom goes to waste. We the people want to know just where we're going. Right now, we hands are tied behind we backs, while certain people if unbutton. Where do we stand? We have too far to go, not to really know just how we're getting there. And if we're getting anywhere, we have too much to change, not to know the range of possibility and changeability.
Yes, my people. Good evening again. It is me, Mr. B, and I want to use this opportunity to welcome you to another edition of the Jamaica Mix, and that is the program that we tackle some of the burning salient issue that is roaring through the talkosphere right over there in Jamaica and in the diaspora. And of course, one of the biggest topics on hand has been the Integrity Commission. They have been on the hot seat, particularly given the political temperatures that are soaring back home. Most, depending on which side of the equation you are, there's an inclination to take positions relative to your political preference. But be that as it may, there are some issues that, regardless of your political preference, my sense is that Jamaica come first above everybody else. And so it is against this background that yours truly want to ventilate this whole issue of the Integrity Commission, especially as it relates to the Prime Minister, the Honorable Andrew Michael Holness, and the whole issue of, his statutory declarations and the status that those are. You will recall that last week, the Integrity Commission's report was essentially tabled in Parliament, which made the material contained in the report now available to the public at large. And so, I urge people to, if you're serious about the country and, the issues that are at stake, you want to take the time and avail yourself to the details contained herein. Again, want to welcome and invite as well those joining to, bring your friends on to the podcast so we can have a fulsome discussion. Of course, you are welcome to call in, WhatsApp, or if you're here in the United States, on regular telephone line 954-274-8177. We'll be more than happy to entertain your input in this issue. So, to the issue at hand, the Prime Minister's statutory declaration. Keep in mind that the period that is under discussion is not the current period, but period that began between 2019 and 2021. Those are the years where the discrepancies arose. And so it has formed the basis for the backing and forthing as far as the discussion is concerned. But I think before we do anything else, we probably want to get an idea of why an integrity commission. Why is it important that we have such a commission, and why it is similarly important that the deliberations that they're having be taken to a final conclusion? We live in a world where influence peddling has become a significant thing. We live in a world where, we're driven by material desires and, material things, basically. And so I guess, like everybody else, like nice things. The tradition is that people work for what they will, in essentially or over time, get to own, as opposed to having stuff handed to them. And so from that perspective, we believe it is important that people who put themselves up for public service, that as best as possible, these people are beyond reproach. Remember, you never know who is on the outside, who is peddling, who is, peddling influences, if you will. Somebody want to sell, access to a critical minister of government, the prime minister even. And so, if we recognize that people have this desire for accumulation, wealth accumulation, chattels, if you will, having things, not everybody is going to work hard for the money to acquire those things. And so, because people are people, humans, and subject to error, you have to have a check and balance. Now, whether you are a supporter of the sitting administration, or you're a supporter of the people who sit in opposition, or just an ordinary Jamaican living at home in Jamaica or here in the diaspora, you must have an interest in the role the Integrity Commission plays in the everyday life of Jamaica, if you will, right? And so it is against that background, as I say, that I want us to look at the Integrity Commission in itself. I think in my last telecast we talked about what the Integrity Commission was all about, and the whole basis of integrity relates to the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles that you refuse to change, right? And so the in essence, because we all are human beings, and because we are subject to the different influences, what you're looking for is somebody whose moral principles are strong enough that it will push back any attempt by outsiders to try to influence the way how your country's leaders, your leaders of public bodies, the people who have control over resources in a country, you want to reduce the level of impact or that any outside influences might have. Keep in mind, we live in a world, as I said earlier, that is governed by the capitalistic desires, and people are always trying to get a one-upmanship. And so whether it is from a business standpoint, where a big business will seek to gather to exercise influence on a country's leaders, provide financial support to their electoral campaign, one would think that that we all the more reason why we want to pay attention to this. And so the Integrity Commission came into being. It has been in place in Jamaica for a while, but was the most recent iteration of the Integrity Commission's Act was the Act of 2017, which established, as it said, the Integrity Commission to promote ethical standards and prevent corruption. The Integrity Commission Act consolidated several laws and it merged the operations of 3 entities into the Integrity Commission, and these would have been the Office of the Contractor General, the Commission for the Prevention of Corruption, and the Integrity Commission, which is a parliamentary committee, which required the Integrity Committee, parliamentary thing required parliamentarians to file annual income, asset, and liability statements with the commission, and this is done annually. Right now, it is this act that has kind of gotten the Prime Minister and a number of cabinet ministers in the crosshairs of the Integrity Commission, and because the Prime Minister is the one on the discussion table, we're gonna maintain the focus on that. Now we have seen where a lot has been said with respect to the Prime Minister's responses. The argument was given that the Commission is targeting the Prime Minister. The Commission not targeting the Prime Minister. Commission is doing its job. In fact, depending again on the political side you take, people want to suggest that the Commission is political. Anybody who lives in Jamaica and is actively participating in the social and economic life of the country, one would expect that they, like anybody else, anywhere else, would exercise their franchise, which is the right to vote in a parliamentary election called in the country. And so people will vote based on what their political preferences are. I refuse to buy into the argument that people operate primarily out of political preference, if you will. I mean, yeah, we know that there are diehards and so on, but I refuse to believe that that this is how all of Jamaica operate. And so, because if you buy that argument, what you're saying is that there isn't a person in Jamaica who is a person of integrity. Remember, integrity now have nothing to do with your political preference. It has to do with the terms of reference that you have to do the job that you have undertaken to do. And so the commission and its staffing is borne out by this. Now, as I say, a lot of people have been castigating the Integrity Commission. In fact, over the last couple of days, we see where the government members, there is a video I've seen on YouTube where various members of the current administration swearing their loyalty to the Prime Minister, and they have a right to do that. I mean, that's the party of their choice. That's where them earn them bread, and they are, whether they are ministers of government, certainly they are all members of parliament or bigwigs within the ruling administration, and so that is understood. But that does not obviate the right of the commission to do its job. And so there is a reference by the commission to submit their report to the Financial Investigative Division, FID, and multiple persons, including in particular the people from the Jamaica Labour Party and their supporters, are essentially expressing this view that the FID has no business that the Integrity Commission has no business in referencing or submitting their report to the FID. Now, I think sometimes by virtue of our political preferences, we all take leave of our senses, right? Because the commission is guided by the very act which brought them into existence. In accordance with that act, the Integrity Commission Act gives the authority to the commission, right? The right to take the report to the FID, because the FID, the Financial Investigative Division, is an aspect of the government that looks at financial crimes, if you will, investigate financial crimes, performs investigations in these regards to ensure that the laws are maintained, and in respect of the government or the public servants' integrity reports, that they are consistent with the expectations of the law. And so the FID has had, in fact, the FID has had a memorandum of understanding with the Integrity Commission that dates back to 2021. And this was aimed at fostering what is referred to as a strategic working relationship in which information sharing is at its core. Keep in mind, remember, the purpose of the commission is to keep those who have put themselves forward to serve the country. The job is to keep them honest, right? That is the job. And so the whole idea of keeping them honest, first of all, we have a situation, and all of this is documented in the report, where the Prime Minister has been a very busy man, and I take nothing from him in respect of that. Very busy, but it would appear that his time is spent between governing the country and running at least three, or being involved in the operations of three different private sector enterprises, big businesses, which are moving a fair amount of money around the place. Now, one of the things that strike you coming out of the FID's report is that these companies, at the very least, two of these companies, have filed with the Tax Administration Department $0 tax returns, right? $0 tax returns. And so the Director of Investigations at the Integrity Commission, in looking at the Prime Minister's numbers, remember the Integrity Commission report, or the statutory declaration of any person who comes before the Integrity Commission, is to look at their income versus expenditures, right? It is to look at any change in those numbers, and to make a determination as to whether or not any change, positive in particular, in the income and expenditure of the person under investigation, that those expenditures are consistent with the declared income of the individual. That's their role. And so if they make a determination that there are entries in the document that requires more details, their job is to ask for it. And if they are not satisfied with the the timeliness of the report, right? Their job is to, or if they're not satisfied with the information provided therein, to request additional report. And they have the authority to go directly to the sources to generate that information, which they are going to contrast with what is being reported by the person under investigation. And so, in the case of these companies that have basically declared $0 in taxes, right? The question that is asked is, so how do you explain the transactions then? If there's no taxes, what is the source of the activity that led to the revenues that created the deposits in the respective bank accounts that you are now lending portions of that money to other companies? It's a reasonable question. And so the tax administration must now make a determination as to whether the promoters, the owners of this company, is liable to the government for taxes. Right? That's what these people are there to do. The problem that we are having in Jamaica with respect to this whole Integrity Commission right now is one that is caused by a combination of ignorance, in my opinion, and the return to this foolish political divide between Jamaicans. You are PNP or you are Labour right. And we have to get out of that. We have to get away from that, it's my opinion. The corruption is a big problem in Jamaica. And we're talking about corruption at every level, right? And what corruption does is that it causes the resources of the country to be directed into the hands of people who are not entitled to these resources, right? And so a corruption, an integrity commission, their job, part of that job is to prevent corruption. And in the course of doing that, they're helping to detect and prevent corruption within the government and public sector, which fosters greater trust among Jamaicans for the country's public institutions, right? The commission holds public officials accountable for their actions, and it promotes transparency in governance. Now, people may argue, it's the prime minister and everybody had to take. The fact is that the prime minister put himself in a position where these investigations have to be conducted, because that is the role that the Integrity Commission is there for. And unless you can tell me that them not do the same thing for the other side when them in a government, that's a whole different argument. The reality is that if we don't, we have to get to a point where we start holding people accountable. Because if you don't start, the question that it begs is when. When do we do something? When we recognize that we read a budget for how much $1 trillion and 5 or 10 people, because they have access, move 2/3 of the budget and put in their own private bank account all over the place? Is that what we are suggesting that is our expectation of Jamaica? Is either we are going to hold our public officials and by extension our own selves as accountable, right? We have to build public trust in Jamaica. And I don't care who is the government, right? I have no brief for neither PNP nor JLP. What I am concerned about is that resources that comes into the coffers, the public purse, that it gets directed to those places where it is most needed. We may beat with chest somewhere where we go good school, we go immaculate, or we go to Woolmer's, or the top 10, 20 schools in Jamaica. But there are 167 secondary schools, and there are hundreds of primary schools across the island, right? And these schools require funding. When we start to pinch away portions of the funding because we have access, because we have ministers with budgets, and we are siphoning money to here and there that is not going to the people who need it, the country suffers, right? So we need these institutions. Institutions like the Integrity Commission becomes critical to the development of the country, because it becomes essentially it provides a policing of those in charge of the national resources of the country, right? And so we need, as a population, to support these entities. Are there people within some of these entities who have their biases? Listen, the answer to that, plain and simply, I don't necessarily need to know anybody who has these biases, because a bias is a consequence of just living and growing up in a society. Jamaican society has moved dramatically forward since the 1970s, when we had this huge ideological divide between the members of the Jamaican population. Today, that there is still that divide. Granted, it is not along ideological lines. Today, the two Jamaican major political parties, there is a congruence of sort in terms of their ideological thinking. And so what it comes down to now is one of preference, who you like. And so we have to nonetheless hold all of these people accountable. We're not trying to send nobody go to prison. If you do foolishness and you deserve to go to prison, go to prison. But what we are seeking more than anything else is transparency. Remember, we trade with other countries as a geographical location. Jamaica, we have tourism is our biggest business. We are trying to welcome more and more investors into the country to put in tourism infrastructure. We're trying to encourage Jamaicans in the diaspora to go back to Jamaica and to invest. But it is important that the international economic reputation of the country is above board. And so a robust Integrity Commission bolsters Jamaica's international standing, right? And it makes it more attractive for the country in terms of its ability to attract investment partnerships, as well as the interest of people from the outside who wants to do business with and in Jamaica, right? And so it is my view that we owe it to ourselves in Jamaica to build this kind of body and stop looking at the thing purely in terms of our own narrow political self-interest, right? I don't care who is under investigation. What we want to ensure is that investigations are fair. But fair is a relative term, because relative meaning if I don't like it, right, or I feel that boy I pay too much attention to somebody who is of my own political preference, then we have to move away from that, right? We have to be able to look on Jamaica as the piece of earth in this geographical location and its impact on its nationals. That's what we need to be doing. right? Remember, corruption deters foreign investment, it stifles economic development, and it leads to inefficient allocation of resources, which slows overall economic and social growth. That is why more than 60% of our secondary schools not really do nothing. They are largely warehouses for our children. The same is true for our primary schools. A tremendous number of primary schools can barely get their, their quotient of PEP students prepared enough to do well in the exams. We look at the other day the report that said that Jamaicans, the passes in mathematics is going in the opposite direction. We are 30% worse off than we were 2 and 3 years before in terms of our math passes, right? As a consequence of all of that, we're losing our teachers. The people who finally make it through the secondary school system, go to colleges, university, teachers' colleges, or nursing school, the minute them graduate, them flash, gone out of the country, right? And so we suffer as a result of that. And the reason behind it is because of this misallocation. What is happening is because of the looseness with which we operate politically, the too many individuals who ought not to be where they are. It's like a man said, you have a turtle on the top of a fence post, and you don't understand how him reach there. Him can't go, him can't come off, him can't move because he don't belong there. And so that's the kind of thing that corruption does. We have to be careful that when a man put up himself and say, boy, I'm going to go into politics, right? I'm going to become a politician. And before you know it, this man is a politician. Him register for be a candidate in a election, whether it is a what you call it, a general election or a parochial election. The bottom line is somebody decides, boy, the man can't help me, Man can't help me legitimize some of my activity. Jamaica is a place where whole heap of drugs and gun and thing are run, and people have money scamming. And so a scammer or a man will have some serious con decides, why I back a candidate, and put in the money in the election campaign, right? Fund the person's election. And so when this person, because money win election, whether people want to like it, yes or no. So win the election because the money run. When him win that election, that seat, and find him or herself in a position either in the cabinet or whatever it is, the center sphere of the active politics, that person is now owned by the person who paid for the campaign, right? And so you shouldn't be no surprised that the candidate who is now the minister, right, is now finding all kind of ways to peel off contracts to those who supported their election, right? And this is very, very critical. This is the reason why the Integrity Commission is important, right? Because what you need to do is to sanctify the political space by ensuring that the people who are participants in the active participants at the political level, that they are beyond reproach. It may be a foolish concept, but guess what? We have an opportunity to shift that focus and the direction. And we need to do it because the country bigger than everyone away, Mr. Wholeness, no matter who or which, when him go in bed, him have to take off him shoes and thing. Him have to him have to think. Him put on him pants 1 foot at a time, right? I am, and this is the conversation that we want to have. The Integrity Commission is compromised, my opinion. Opal is saying, Opal Morris. I don't know whether that is true or not. One of the things that we have to do is, that we have to, first of all, we need to, understand who make up the Integrity Commission. Justice Panton is a retired Chief Justice, a man with an impeccable reputation as a jurist in Jamaica over the years. And are we saying that compromise impacts him? I'm not suggesting by any means that people are not compromisable. That's not what I'm saying. Our job is to demand that these people work to the extent that the terms of reference that them have provides them. We have to get to a point where we can believe that our country is good enough and that there are good enough people in our country who are willing to serve in entities like this, right? And that they are able to do a fair job, right? And just like the foolishness we're going on in the politics, as we move along the continuum, we ferret out, we sift, we try to place people of greater and greater integrity. I am not one of those people who are going to take, because I can't prove that, right? We may not like the decisions or the way that some of these people articulate their decisions, but that is not to say that they are doing so out of malice and spite and bias. The bottom line is that anytime you raise an investigation against somebody, it is going to leave a sour taste in that person's mouth, and in particular, the circles of the people that them operate with. They're going to equally, the taste rub off in a for them mouth. The bottom line is what we need to believe in or to give support to is the factor of the importance of having a commission like this. Because once we agree as to the value of its existence, right? What we need to do is to give it the opportunity to work. And it's going to take time, because remember, somebody recommend these people, right? We have to believe in a higher power, listen, I am one person. I mean, I have money, but I'm not one of those persons you can buy, right? I have no interest in stuff like this. But because I know who I am, I believe that there are wholly more people out there, just like me. And just like how we may talk here on this program, people may figure, boy, you just lick out against the government. I don't have I bear no ill will to anybody, regardless of what your political stripe is. If you do rubbish, may talk about it, right? But that don't mean that me not like you or me despise it. That don't have nothing to do with it. So the point I'm making is we have to get to that point as Jamaicans where we start to believe in ourselves. Believe that there are, in fact, Jamaican people who are able to do these jobs with integrity. It's like a teacher. A lot of the teachers who we benefit from in terms of the time they committed to classroom provided us with the ability to read and write that we can now articulate at this level and earn 10, 20 times what they are earning. They made a choice to become teachers. They could have left the teaching job and come America or go anywhere else and pick up some big job. But there are people who believe that their role in life is to teach. And if we can understand that principle, it's the same principle that applies to members of some of these boards who are there to serve. That's all that they want to do. Are there other people with ill intentions? Absolutely. I spoke about that at the beginning of the program. But our job is to ferret out those people and remove them from the system. That is not to say that because we know. I agree with you, Opal, that there are some people there who are influenceable. I said it earlier, right? And that's the reason why we need to have, institutions like these to prevent that from happening. But we can't allow ourselves to give in to this thing that say everybody in Jamaica corrupt, and because them provide an investigation against somebody that I like, that who is my party leader, that them bias, right? There are laws that are in place that governs the way this organization work. And in as much as there are some of what them do, I am not gonna tell you that I agree 100%. But in general, the direction that they're going is the correct direction, right? It is the correct direction, because it's only when we give these institutions the teeth to operate and we allow it the time to generate in terms of its operation that we're going to get the results that we want. But it is not enough to say that, boy, I agree with them people, because too much people in Jamaica corrupt and thing. If we say that, might as well disband the police, right? Right? We might as well we throw in the towel upon everything, right? As Derek just said, the Integrity Commission, they're doing their jobs. That's what they're there to do. And because we are so accustomed, right? Me remember when we live in Jamaica, hurricane blow and I see some little boy where barefoot I walk up on our street. Eventually I drive big car and thing because them proximity to MP and them get a piss pot load of money. If go move the rubbish and clear the road them and all. And instead of them use the money and do that, them go buy a car and have their a nightclub at night time and the road them go clear up. And it's not accountable to anybody. Right? We have to start somewhere. And so is that still happening? I suspect that it is, but the degree to which it is happening, right? And I agree with you, Opal, that we must, regardless of political affiliation, people must demand more from our politicians. But where we have to start with? Me and you and your friend and everybody. We have to, if we don't, listen, a whole heap of people right here in Florida no really want, when them see me and come, them gone. Right? Gone in a different direction. Because guess what? Me is a man when me have no, me say what I mean. Right? I am dead straight when it comes to certain things. Right? And so the people who know me understand that. Right? It took us a while. I mean, it took me quite a number of years to get to this position. Right? And similarly, it's going to take all of us. We just need to start somewhere, right? Let's not tear down the Integrity Commission because we don't like the way them do, right? If there is gaps in the way them operate, there are ways we can amplify that. I see there are a lot of videos on social media now, YouTube, etc., where even the very agencies themselves are not unprepared to put their opinions out there, to say what they are doing, right? And that's the point, Derek. My philosophy is, the Prime Minister, okay, so the Prime Minister is under investigation. Am I saying that him thief anything or him thing? No. My philosophy, just as Derek said, is if you don't have nothing to hide, what's the big deal? Right? If you don't have nothing to hide, there is nothing that you need to be afraid of. right? People ask you questions, you provide them with the answers that them think, right? And you let the chips fall where they may. Sometimes in the operation of our business activities or the way we go about our business, we make slip ups. But a reasonable person can appreciate that a slip up. The Prime Minister said he never report on certain accounts, I don't remember saying them. That's fine. Them can check it. And you can know if it's a slip up, because them are cross reference. You have the people them are audit 3,000-4,000 banking transactions and entries, right? And so when them go through certain entries, them see where it goes somewhere which is not mentioned in their deliberations with you. So them will ask you about it. And if you provide a plausible explanation, it's going to be taken. If the people feel that you have sufficiently answered the question, they move on. It's very important that we get this thing done straight. Listen, if the Prime Minister come out smelling like a bouquet of roses, it's the best thing for Jamaica, right? And if he don't, it is equally the best thing for Jamaica. Because what you're saying is that your institutions are working, right? That's what it is saying. It is simply saying to those who are paying attention that these institutions that are in place are working and doing them job. Derek asked a question, which government created the Integrity Commission? I think they have been there for a while, Derek, but in this iteration of the Integrity Commission was last put in place by the current administration in 2017, if I remember correctly. The current administration at the time, I think they would have been in office for about, I think they won the election in February 2017, and the Governor General in October of 2017 signed off on the current iteration of the Integrity Commission. Because what they did is that they merged several different departments, the Contractor General and so on, into this body called the Integrity Commission. And so technically it is the current JLP administration that created the Integrity Commission. And absolutely. So now, they are being I'm listening to some of the ministers of government in the House the other day, and everybody swear them allegiance to Andrew Holness, and them have a right to do that. I mean, Andrew is the leader of the party. But the call for the disbanding, the call for reviewing the law that governs the Integrity Commission is because it is the focus is on them. And they are the focus because they have not been operating to the fullest extent of the law with respect to their own statutory deduction. In fact, there are still 8 people in the government that are being cited for unlawful enrichment, and all of that is coming out because of the Integrity Commission. There are people who have not filed any statutory declarations, right? Or who have similarly filed and can't sign off on it. There are people who are being questioned on aspects of their resources and this, how this dramatic accumulation of wealth, and them can't answer to it. So the best thing to do is to get rid of it. Again, these are the things that we need to pay attention to. Because the same knife a joke dog, right? Tomorrow morning, if the government change, are the same principle are coming up on the other side. What we are saying to our public servants, whether them a politician, right? We are saying to them, you are subject to the law, and if you fool around, right? If you fool around, this is what will reach you, and you're not above being sent to jail, to prison. Call it the right word, prison, right? That's how we turn the thing around. But we need people who are serious. We need people who, who are, listen, politicians not supposed to have thief no money now. Because politicians get a big raise of pay, 300% raise of pay last year. Retroactive to the, mostly 2 years before. So, what we want is to take the same approach and deal with some of the public servants too, so that no scuffling no go on from them side, because they are similarly subject to the same regulations. We have to take a strong position, but it starts by understanding the role that an agency of this sort plays in terms of how the country is developing, right? It can't be because on my side they're the wicked, and if you're looking at the opposite direction, right? We can't do that. Corruption robbed the country, right? Robbed the country bad. You build a road and the road costs, you build the country $400 US a square foot to build the road, when you actually only spend $100. So $300 worth of padding of the bill, and then rainfall and the whole of the road wash away. Right? And what is worse, are you same one who did rob up the thing, then bring back to fix back the road. Those are the things that a corrupt system encourages. And Jamaica too small and too important that we turn a blind eye, right? Enough labor man vex, there will always be a certain level of theft, but it must be done within means. And when you get catch, as you say, yeah, and that's my feeling, Derek. Listen, anybody who with any sense will know, say, graft and bandulo and pinch off and thing is a feature of how our society has risen up itself over the years. But it don't have to be like that all the time. My feeling is that we need to provide opportunities for more Jamaicans to do well. Because the more people doing well is the better the country economy is going to be. Right? And so the more people who find themselves in a position, not a bandula thing, but somebody qualify, them get a nice job and them earn a nice money. We build businesses, we build communities, we build societies, that kind of way. Right? I believe that if you're a teacher, you're a nurse, you're a public servant, a civil servant, you need to be earning at a certain level, a wage that will allow you to send your family, put your family in a nice house. You can provide your own transportation if necessary. Send your picnic them go a good school, and then not fair, a suffer. We believe in that, right? Me believe in a Jamaica that will have the ability to do that. Me not believe that only Mr. Issa, Mr. Hannah, picnic them can go a good school. Me believe that every Jamaican should be able to go a good school. And so if we pay the teachers properly, right? If we build communities by providing the resources, road, water, light in these communities, public transportation, health services, right? Those things help build communities. The more broad-based these communities are, and the further they spread out in the country, the better the country is, right? And so once we do that, and people feel a sense of belonging to the environment within which they live, right? Then we're all better off. But as long as we allow this kind of corruption to germinate, and we feel that, boy, on a right fair, I call the Prime Minister, I couldn't say the PM a thief, what I say, the minister a robber. We have to go better than that. If the Prime Minister, the minister, the opposition leader, whoever you be, if you are transgress and we catch you, you are going to prison. Simple. Right? Because we have to provide a deterrent. Right? The way how we have law and order is a very simple process, when you break the law, that there is a certainty that you are going to be found out, right? That you're going to be found out, you're going to be brought in, you're going to be charged, tried, and you're going to be punished. The surety and the speed with which all of that happens, because nobody wants to run afoul of the system. And so when people recognize that, say, right, the man, I send man to prison for them things, them are going to stop it. Right? And that's where we need to be heading as a society. So, listen, the World Bank highlighted years ago that, corruption in Jamaica lead to substantial losses in GDP. To the tune of about 7% of the country's GDP is lost through corruption, right? When we do that, when we allow these losses, the manifestation of it comes at us in so many different ways. Reduced foreign direct investment, inefficiencies in a government and government spending, weakened business environment, right? And so it is important that we address these issues. The Integrity Commission, that's their job. That's the reason why they are there, right? As Opal says, the citizens of Jamaica need to understand that they vote these politicians to work for the greater good of the country, and if they're not performing up to par, vote them out. Simple as that. I agree. But what we are seeing here is a rise in this kind of political tribalism. I believe that we have come a long way since the 1970s. People like Derek, I know, will appreciate where we come from when we mention the 1970s and this hard divide between one side and of the other as far as Jamaicans are. We turn Jamaicans against each other, and we need for that political tribalism, as Opal is saying here, is disastrous. And it is full time that as Jamaicans we come to terms with that. No politician is above the law. If you have a responsibility to report your income and expenditure in the form of your statutory declaration, do it and do it on time. Get somebody, get an accountant. If there's so much money you make and or the kind of transaction you involve in, then you need an accountant to do your statutory thing. So that when the people them ask questions, the answers are there. There is an audit trail. Because that's what them do. And if we need to hold every single public servant to the same requirement. It don't matter who you be. Because the minute we do that investigation and realize that you are complicit, right? Bam, you're gone. I want to reiterate, there are people out there who have a whole pile of money and they will use that money to buy influence. The other day we were talking about how much hundreds of guns have come through the port in Montego Bay and elsewhere. Right? No little barefoot man can smuggle gun come in Jamaica. No little ordinary common boy can do that. Right? For you to smuggle 89mm guns through the port, that, first of all, are not chop-ons for gun, even if you buy them in America on the street side, are not chop-ons, right? And so a gun down in Jamaica, a handgun will sell for about, almost $500,000 Jamaican dollar. Eh? And so that is a big business. So no little common boy can't find them kind of money there for bring 80 gun come through the port and for pay lookout for looking at the opposite direction. Because that a go on. That's how them gun them are coming. So no common boy now do them thing, right? but it's because of the corruption and the extent of the corruption why stuff like this happen. And we don't hear them arrest nobody. Oh, we find 20 guns, right? But you never hear say, but we arrest John Tom or Harry James. You don't hear. Corruption, right? Corruption robs the country. And so, let us bat for integrity in the country. Let us all do that. Let us commit ourselves. Yes, we have a problem, but I think we are now at the point where we have identified the problem, right? And we all know how to solve it. The solution comes from putting institutions in place and providing them with the teeth to do the jobs that they have to do, right? Let us do that. One of our problems we have in Jamaica doing is that we have a situation. If you remember, when we had to do away with hanging and thing in Jamaica, which me never really believe in anyway. But there are people Jamaicans who are them go to school, them get out, them a lawyer, and they look at these regulations and they find ways to punch holes in these regulations. Them tie you up in a court forever, right? And so what these things do is that it also helps to weaken these institutions. And it's all the more reasons why we need to strengthen them. We need to provide them with the best people, right? We need to have the best people appointed to run these institutions. People who will bring, developing ideas to keep the institution not only abreast of the changes that are going on through the general society, but to keep them ahead of this thing, so that we don't find ourselves where we do an audit of a particular individual, and the audit is for 2019 returns, and we're in a 2024, and we still now get the answers what we're supposed to get, right? And we can't do nothing because they might use the system. The weakness is that they have paid personnel, who attorneys, whatever, who are undermining the effectiveness of the institution because they might use the system, right? These are the things where we need to advocate for. Because once we lick that, we would have nixed the space through which the corruption thrives, right? We need them, absolutely. They're finding loopholes in other thing. Because remember, this is a fairly new body. 2017 to now, that's 7 years. But over the 7 years, a whole heap of things have changed. Remember, 7 years ago, we never have artificial intelligence, right? And so you have to keep, abreast of the developments, both in technology and information, so that the entity is on pace with the developments in the society, right? So that you can't use any loopholes that is there, you close them, right? And you have to be looking ahead so that you stay ahead of what is required. I don't hold no brief for anybody. I don't care who, the Prime Minister is another man just like the whole of him, put on him pants 1 foot at a time, right? Him have a responsibility to run the country. My philosophy is, if you want to be an industrialist and a businessman, you can't do the Prime Minister work while you do that, right? You cannot be as well a servant of the country, and you are the business with the government departments that you are engaged with. You cannot be in government and not do business with the government department. That is corruption, right? And so, one of the things that I have observed with the PMM involved in 3 companies, 2 of them involved in a development, which development in any kind of physical development of infrastructure and space in Jamaica. You use Jamaican resources. If you want to be involved in a company like that, you have to left the work. That's my view, right? If the PM want to be that big an industrialist, I mean, I have nothing wrong with thing, but you can't do the two things because we have to make the presumption, right, that as we start the program, there are, people are corruptible. And so we're going to minimize it. If you want to be in a politics, you can't do no business, right? No business you can be associated with, whether as a director, nothing. You're a prime minister, you can't be a director in a damn company and you're a prime minister at the same time, right? You have to push them thing to one side. If you decide that that's what you want to do, right? What you need to turn on is looking at a party, find the next man who can run the place and step, right? Because you can't do the two things. The place too small and it has sent the wrong signal, right? So that is my criticism of the PM. And me not care who thing. It no matter to me where anybody else think. Me personally believe that you cannot, because if you're out there, you can't do development where you're going to buy land. You have a company where you're going to buy land from the government or lease land from the government, and you are the prime minister, you are a director of the company and a shareholder. If you want to do that, let the prime minister work. But if you want to be prime minister, you have to put somebody else do that. Them administer your money. We're not supposed to see no trail of that or come across the threshold, right? That's what integrity is all about. Integrity is who you are when nobody now look, right? And right as or now, based on the stuff where we not say guilty or nothing, but the way how the thing has progressed over the period of time, look good. And in principle, you shouldn't be operating at that level as a minister, the head of the government, and you do business with the government, right? If you were working in a private sector, you do that and fire, right? They fire because it's corrupt, it's double dealing, and you can't do that. And if people don't understand about integrity and all of them something, that's what we're talking about. It's called transparency. Hopefully you hit the nail on the head. It is the lack of transparency in the process, because had these investigations not blown open, the public would know that this is the case, right? And this is the case, that the lack of transparency is a problem. And in the course of this determination and the lack of transparency, that's a great question, Derek. Where is the outcry from the business world and the associations? Again, it comes back down to the people who are at the helm. My observation is that I see it from when I used to live there. You see it too anywhere there. You have an administration that certain aspects of the business community, them like them. Them like the administration. And so they're not gonna say anything, right? And what that does too is that it facilitates the corruption. It facilitates the double dealing, right? Because they are not of the kind of integrity themselves to say, yo, this not right, right? Well, me work for years at Grace Kennedy. I mean, do my business at Jamaica for maybe now 20 odd years. And I'm going to go to school. And the whole business about ethics and so on, you learn that this is not the right thing, right? And I may put it out there. I may say, we need to put a stop to this thing. If you want to be a politician, an MP, a member of the government, you can't be in a business, right? You cannot be in a business. Worse, in a business where you do business with the government itself. You do business with yourself, right? Who vote on the contracts where you get? How do we know that you're not supposed to do it. So I never have to talk about how we know. The reality is that you're not supposed to be in the government and do business with the government. That makes no sense, right? And so, as you say, Derek, very few people operate in the interests of the country. Well, I agree, Derek, but guess what? It's up to us. When we are silent, it is within the walls of our silence that all of this happen, right? So, just wanted to use the time to share these sentiments. There's a whole heap out there, and from time to time, I promise that I'm gonna have these kind of discussions where we bring this out there. We're not beating down nobody. What we say is that there is a right and a wrong way to do certain things, and based on what I see, based on what I've read with the report that was published, and just following some of the discussions, we have a ways to go. This is not pointing finger on anybody in particular. I don't buy the view that we can't have a commission, an integrity commission with upstanding people. There are upstanding people in Jamaica, and I believe that some of them in the integrity commission. Is it, as Opal said, the issue about the collusion? We are people, right? But we have to first of all give the people the opportunity to do the jobs that they were there to do, and as we go along, we make the necessary changes that will give us the results we want, right? That's it for me today. I think we flagged that one to death. Next week we want to take a look at some other issues. The citizens need to demand more from these politicians. At the end of the day, they work for the citizens, and should answer to them. And to that, Opal, you are absolutely right. I think this is a good note upon which to end. And we just want to remind you that check out our website if you're on the website, and there are so many articles there of significant interest, music programs as well. This coming Sunday, there is Sunday Scoops from 2 to 4, and we plan to give you another riveting episode. God will join us on Monday for Love Calls, and Tuesday, Songs from My Youth. Until then, folks, let me leave you with Mr. Ernest Smith, as him say, we the people want to know where we're going.
And as we fight one another for the power and the glory, Jah kingdom goes to waste. We the people want to know just where we're going. Right now we hands are tied behind the back, while certain people if I'm butting. Where do we stand? We have too far to go, not to really know just how we're getting there. And if we're getting anywhere, we have too much to change, not to know the range of possibility and changeability. Violence and crime is commonplace.